Bow, 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 bow. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the How Good's This podcast. This is Julian Gavilanis, and I am here right now by myself in my studio in Bushwick, Brooklyn. And I am here to give you just a little bit of an update because we're doing something a little bit different today. Unfortunately, Alan and Stevie Baby couldn't make it for this conversation, but I decided, you know what? I ain't taking a bye week. I'm doing this shit. I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to keep it alive. And so that's what we're doing. That's what this is. Welcome. Thanks for being here. I love you guys so much. This is the 51st episode, which means we are one episode away from having done this podcast for a full year. What the fuck, man? That's crazy. Anyways, when I was thinking about what I wanted to do, I didn't know how I was going to go about it. I was thinking, should I just sit here and talk about myself? And then I thought that's stupid. So my second thought was Stephanie Powers. If you remember this beautiful woman from episode 25, she came on. She hosts the podcast Lightworker's Lounge. She's an astrologer. She's a spiritual person. She's a human being. You know, I don't like to give her all these labels because she's just a beautiful and wonderful human being who has a lot of depth and a lot of soul and likes to ask questions and is very curious about the human condition and the world that we live in, as well as I. So her and I dove in deep, and she actually read my birth chart, which was very fascinating. It got pretty heavy at times, and I just wanted to give you guys all a forewarning that her and I kind of go in on this. It's a sometimes uncomfortable conversation, but I think there's a lot of beauty in that. And I think, you know, it's something that Alan and Stevie Baby and I don't always get a chance to do. So I was very honored to get the chance to talk to her. She is such an amazing beam of light in the world. And if you guys want to book sessions with her as well, you can do that. Go listen to her podcast, Lightworker's Lounge. Follow her, Stephanie Powers, wherever you follow people. just follow her. Just follow her. Just go around and follow her. Don't follow her with your car. I'm getting off topic. Anyways, we started the conversation like 15 minutes in, and I had forgot to push record. So I had been asking her about something she had been talking about a lot lately. Post-pandemic adrenal fatigue. It has nothing to do with post-pandemic, but she was going through this thing. The conversation is going to kind of jump right in there while she's talking about it still. So I just wanted you guys to know that there was a little bit of conversation where I hadn't introduced her. Part of the reason why I'm introducing it now, giving you guys an update on Alan and Stevie Baby. So we were talking about adrenal fatigue and what that's done for her the last few months and how she's been able to cope with that and move through it. So just for some context. Also, Stevie Baby had a big dental appointment. He had a root canal, I think. His mouth got all fucked up and he was having a hard time. So he wasn't going to come on here and start talking to me because I think he physically could not. And Alan is still in Australia. He had booked a handful of shows and then COVID hit again and he had to go to half capacity. So he like doubled up all of his shows so that all of his fans could come and see them all, which meant that he basically has been doing 2-a-days for the last like week or so, which sounds crazy, but he's totally consumed with singing his heart out for all those fans out there in Australia. I'm sure they're having a blast. It looks like he's been having a good time with it, getting back on stage and singing to the people. It's what he does. It's what he does. And we're grateful for you guys to be here. Thank you so much. Thanks for continuing to stay with us through this trial period. We don't really know what we're doing. We never have. We don't claim to know what we're talking about ever. But we're here and we're showing up and we're trying to stay consistent for you. If it brings you a little bit of joy, it brings you a little smile or gives you a little nugget of wisdom or some kind of whatever, if it does anything for you, then share it with us, subscribe to the thing, follow us. I don't know where you do all that stuff, but, go on and tell your friends, tell your Aunt Joyce, tell your sisters and your brothers and your pastors and your sponsors, whoever you got, let them know about the podcast and let's spread the word. We're going to be doing a full rebrand here in the next couple of months. Alan and I are going to get back together in Spokane, and we are going to do a full ass rebrand of this podcast. So look forward to that. And yeah, I will quit talking. So with no further ado, this is myself and the beautiful, powerful, soulful, humanitarian Stephanie Powers, baby.
How good sis.
When we chatted last, which was 6 months ago, you were in like in your camper van, and you guys were like, we literally, like, the first thing we talked about was that you were throwing darts at a map and you were just kind of like going from place to place.
See?
But you're settled now, and you talked a lot about being like a Sagittarius and being like, I need to move, I need to go, I need to like be all over the place. Are you like in a place now, and have you been there for a little while?
Yeah, and see, that's exactly why. The key to healing adrenal fatigue is rhythm. You need to have roots. You need to have a home with a kitchen that's familiar. Prepare your own meals. Just relax. Have a bed that's yours. I was living such a... I didn't know where I lived. It was like, okay, I'm camping in this Walmart parking lot tonight. Well, where am I going to be camping tomorrow night? That's kind of stressful. And then with living in a camper van, okay, we're out of water. We got to go just rock up to church parking lots and hope they don't see us hooking up our hose to get water. Like basic necessities was always a fight or flight. Shit, we're out of water. If we don't have water, we can't drink. Uh-oh, we need to go find it. So I was just living a life of too much fight or flight. And while it was fun at first, when I can't even handle the stress of, where are we going to get water? To me, that feels like the emotions you get the day before you go into a major surgery. Just the nerves, biting nails, the fast heart rate. I would feel that with little things. And that's when I knew, okay, something is up here.
And so, what's the approach or process to getting yourself out of that? And how long did it last this time around, at least?
Yeah, so I've been really down with my adrenals for about a year, and it's going to take about 2 years of being so gentle with my body. I mean, daily naps, a solid 8 hours of sleep every night, no alcohol, no caffeine. It's tough. I have to treat myself like a grandma.
Does it suck, or is it okay? Like, do you find a rhythm with it all and you kind of enjoy it, or is it awful for you?
It sucks, Julian. It sucks because, especially since we just planted roots here in Colorado, I have a beautiful view in front of me of the mountains, Pagosa Peak, and it's just, I love hiking. I absolutely love it. I love getting good sweat on. I love getting the red face, but I can't because I could pass out because I don't have cortisol. Because even when you're not stressed, but your heart rate's up, it's the same thing as being really stressed, right? I can't do that. And so in my mind, I can still work out and be okay. But then as soon as I even try, it feels like you're wearing a lead suit. You're just so heavy. So it mentally fucks with me for sure. But I know that it's reversible. And as you know, I healed my autoimmunity, which I was told was not. So I just have to practice patience.
Yeah.
But you know what? My birth chart indicates that I have a very sensitive body that needs to be. I can't go out and drink as much as the regular person. I can't have caffeine every day. I have to treat my body with so much delicacy. And I haven't been. Not at all. I've just been like, YOLO, fuck it. Drink this, eat that, do whatever. Travel here, go there.
I was doing the same thing, you know. I was treating my body awful for a while. I had stopped drinking for like the better part of 3 years. And when pandemic happened, I was still not drinking. It didn't like make me feel like anxious or anything. I actually felt much better. But then when I moved to Spokane, and unintentionally just went out there and hung out for a week with Alan, and then was like, saw what we were capable of doing. I started kind of like playing into his lifestyle, and it wasn't like he just, he has a kid and a wife, and so it's not like he's partying or going crazy. But a couple shots of tequila a night, and with dinner, and then that led, like, slowly but surely, I just watched the patterns go right back to where they once were, like before I even turned 30, like in my 20s. And I came back out to New York after I left Alan's place, and I was just so confused and lost about like what a post-pandemic world meant for me as an actor out here, and what I had left with Alan back there, and like what the conflict of both of my lives kind of going both ways. And so I I came out here and I was like, I went to Puerto Rico for
I
like
remember that.
8 days by myself.
I
Oh
remember.
yeah, and I went to chill. I went to like read books and sit on the beach, and I fucking raged so hard. Like I just partied my ass off. And I had no
No.
intentions of doing that. I literally like I went to like the little sleepy surf town of Rincon, and
Yep.
like wanted to like, and went there because I knew it was going to be a relaxing place. And I just found the party right away, and like con- perpetuated the party. And I was treating myself so badly, and I had become, up until like honestly like a month ago, just sad. And I was conscious of it too. I knew what I was doing. I knew how I was behaving, and I knew that the only way to kind of not manage, but like to suppress, I guess, the anxiety that I was feeling was just to
Yep.
keep it going. And so I was just like,
Exactly.
well, I'm feeling crazy, so I might as well just go out and actually get crazy again. And I was all over the place. And since the last like month or so, I've completely cut myself off again from drinking. And just drinking alone prevents me from making so many bad decisions, whether that be like dietary or anything. Just the clarity that comes with sobriety is so good for me. But it comes with its own costs as well, which is just like, okay, well, now I'm like home, and I'm here now with myself, and I gotta think about myself. And so you start
What do
you
I
start
do?
going places with your brain. And I think ultimately it's been really good for me. But yeah, I was interested in that whole that whole uh, experience that you had been going through, because it seemed like I assume a lot of people have been going through
Yeah.
similar things with
Oh,
themselves
so
in the
many people
last
have it
year and a
and don't
half,
know. Yeah.
one way or another. But I don't know, like I'm sorry that it sucks. I'm sorry. I'm sure you're gonna find a way to pull yourself out of whatever
Yeah.
shitty situation you're in, to figure out how to be on a better path, because you seem to be a
Yeah.
powerhouse of a human being who can do that.
Thank you.
But that's the interesting thing about, like, especially at our age, it's like like you get to these places where you're like, oh my god, I feel so great and light and good, and my life seems like it's together.
Yep.
And you even like, even when you say like, I know life will do this, I know it will ebb and flow, and there will be waves, and I will go back down. When you go back down, it's like, even though you knew that could potentially happen, and
Yeah.
and will, it still is just like, fuck, this is still such a blow, and it hurts and it sucks.
It does.
But I
I
think
like
it's
to believe
important ultimately to have those.
so much. And I like to believe that everything happens for me, not to me. So, with this adrenal fatigue
Mm,
forcing me to stop, I've already cut half of the things I do with Lightworkers Lounge off. And it's been terrifying because I didn't realize this while I was burning both ends. But so let me just preface this with, I was raised by a single mom who was on welfare. So, we grew up having food stamps, living in government housing, the like. And so I have this inherited lack mindset. Just growing up watching my mom cry in a church food bank while getting us just bread and milk to eat for dinner, it's imprinted in me and it's engraved in me. So I have this mindset of, if I stop working, if I stop grinding, I'm fucked. I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to have a car. I'm not going to have a house. I am fucked. So I have to uproot that
yeah.
belief, because now I am more than financially okay. But I could have $1 million sent to me today, and I would still wake up and be like, all right, I got to redo the website. I got to hire this. Without realizing I'm okay. And you actually create the best work and attract the most abundance when you're in a state of rest.
So are you getting that rest then? Are you like taking advantage of this time and space for yourself to just do what you know you need to do?
I haven't been. I'll be honest. I have not been. And Baby Jay got on to me for this just last night because he wanted to take me somewhere to just unplug, leave our phones. And he's like, "You don't have anything planned, right? You cleared your schedule as the doctor told you to." And I sent him a screenshot. I've got the whole week booked. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I don't know. I love what I do for work. I've got to stop. I can't. So it's funny we're having this
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Just last night, I was like, I don't know how to stop.
Yeah.
I don't know how to stop.
Yeah, well, it's really difficult when I mean, like I've said it a bunch of times myself, it's like when you genuinely love doing something and it doesn't necessarily feel like work, but all of your energy and your effort is going towards it,
Yep.
you it's hard to see the line there because
Yep.
it's like, my mom used to call me and be like, I'm worried about you. You seem to be like going, 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 and like never taking any breaks. And even close friends are just like, can't like just take a break. And I'm like, well, why? If I
I'm
love
happy.
this, then why? They're like, because, dude, like first and foremost, like you could probably be more effective if you took a break because you would like, preserve some of your energy to then like utilize it in a better way. Um, and secondly, because you deserve to, man, like because you don't even know what you're missing because you're not even experiencing it, you know.
Wow.
And that, I don't know, like, because I have a similar headspace, and I almost associate it to like laziness and like, no, like
Yes.
I can't sit down because if I sit down, like I can't watch. I'm an actor, and I don't watch television or movies. Like they just feel like rewards to me. So like if I can't ever like during the day or even really during the night, unless I'm like on my way to falling asleep, like actually like okay, I'm like about to fall asleep. I'll maybe turn a movie on. Otherwise, I'm like it's just like I can't be doing this. This is wrong. I shouldn't. It's just like, what are you talking about? You're an actor. You should be watching movies. You
Yes.
should be watching shows as research, whatever. But I'm just like, yeah, that's an excuse for actors who just aren't working hard enough because there's always work to be done. And it's like, damn it, man.
Wow.
Like don't do that. Like just take some time to yourself. And I struggle so much with that, so much, and especially since coming back to New York after leaving Alex, because and I assume it's happened for you too, like adjusting to places when you're
Ooh.
moving around. It takes me a while to like reacclimate to something,
Oh yeah.
and you know it had taken me like six years to really adjust to being somebody that lived in New York and making sense of this life. And I had done that, and then when I went out with Alan, he was like, you just live here, man, just move here. And I was like, this life seems kind of feasible, but at the same time, man, like I'm doing this as part of like this, like the Alan Stone camp. Like I still have a life that I'm trying to create for myself as well.
Yep.
And that exists in New York. And so I was like, I had adjusted. I was in Spokane, Washington for like 7 or 8 months. And I like, 5 or 6 months in, adjusted. And then I left and I had to readjust and like move to a new place out here in New York. And I was going through the whole moving phase and all that stuff. And I was just like, okay, the only way I know how uh, to like deal with myself and keep myself sane is by just like keeping myself occupied with more things, more things, more things, more things. And I
Yep.
drove myself up the wall, and I completely burnt out and made myself sick like multiple times. I was sick like multiple times, and it was awful. And it was like, you're doing this to yourself.
Yep.
Like you don't
Exactly.
have to be
You should
doing
get your
this way.
cortisol tested. I bet you got adrenal fatigue.
I bet you I have all sorts of fucked up shit going on with me.
Autoimmunity,
Yeah,
adrenal
I don't
fatigue.
even I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure I do. I'm probably gluten. I'm probably gluten intolerant. I don't know. I'm probably lactose intolerant. I'm allergic to so many things, and like I was allergic to alcohol, or am, and would just keep drinking. Like I would get blotchy every like probably like 70% of the time I would
Oh
drink. My face would
no.
get all red, and my body would get like all rashy and red, and I would get like a shortage of breath. And I would just be like, "Don't worry, everybody." People would be like, "Oh my
Give me
god, dude,
another
you look
shot.
fucking crazy." And I'd be like, no, don't worry. I'm just going to stand in the refrigerator. I'm going to put my face in the refrigerator. And then, like, in 10 minutes, I'll come back out and have a shot with you. And I would just rally. And it was like, dude, what are you doing,
You know,
man?
your birth
This is
chart has
so
the same
stupid.
mark that mine does of indication of having a very sensitive body. We are people who can take one shot and really we're done for the night. We've got that good buzz. and we can have 1 cup of coffee, be fucking wired. So when you texted me earlier and said, I'm on 12 cups of coffee, I was like, I would be hospitalized with IVs.
Well, yeah, so well, because I've stopped drinking, I'm like substituting one addiction for the other, right?
Yeah,
So it's just like, oh,
substances.
now I need something else to like keep me stimulated, and I need to like
Yeah,
put all my energy into something else, and so I just drink all this coffee, and it's so much that it's honestly just counterproductive for.
of
It's like
course.
it's counter effective. It's like not. It's canceling itself out. It's after like 4,
Yeah.
you
You
know,
know the theme
and
of
I'm
your
also
birth
like
chart?
what is it
Substance abuse.
really?
Your sun, your
Oh
Cancer
shit!
sun, lives in the 12th house. 12th house is ruled by Pisces, which is all things hidden, the dream world. This is also a placement of really prolific actors, singers, musicians, artists. But so that's the high road is this person's extremely spiritual, extremely creative. On the low road, substance abuse is very prominent. Now, next to that, you also have Jupiter and Pisces, which Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system. So he shows us where we may overindulge. Pisces rules drugs and alcohol.
Wow. You
Hmm.
said that you were like you're gonna have some wows and aha moments.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. It's not like I'm. It's nice to be valid, I guess, to like have that validated in that sense,
hmm.
but not really because it's just like I don't
What the
know.
fuck? What do I
It's
do?
sucks.
Right?
It's awful.
Oh, there's so
Yeah,
much more to
yeah.
it. Now, I want to ask you, can you think back to what happened in 2015? How was that year for you?
2015.
Did anything big, exciting happen or
Uh
anything really bad happen?
um I think I yeah, I think I was living in I had moved from New York to LA because I had I'll try to I'll reduce this story to be small, but I had started acting and gotten kind of successful right away with like booking
Mhm.
jobs and kind of not knowing why or how. And I got like a full ride scholarship to come to this conservatory in New York. And I was like on top of the world as far as what I expected of myself and the impression I was making as an actor. So I was like, I am gonna be the next big fucking thing. Like
Yeah.
this is my trajectory and it's just skyrocket. And I just kept being like validated by it. And so I came to this school out here, which was the reason I moved. And then I dropped out because I had gotten a job in LA as like a commercial. And I was like, I'm just gonna move. I'm gonna go make it now. Like this is my time to go make it.
Yeah.
And I went to LA and I think it was in 2015. And and that was the first time I had really been like kicked in the nuts really hard by the business and the industry of acting, which in retrospect was great and needed for me to
Mhm.
really kind of be humbled in that experience. But thereafter, I spent like 9 months there, uh, expecting to stay and live, and it was quite possibly the most depressing time of my entire life, just trying to fit in and make sense of a life that I had completely decided that I was like already in with and a part of,
Mhm.
but I wasn't at all, and I was so wrong. Um, and I'm sure you've been to LA plenty of times. Um, it was I was there prematurely as
Mhm.
an actor, and it's such an oversaturated market of actors as it is, um, and I had never had to manage my expectations up until that point to really like I was just going and things were just kind of happening to me and it was amazing, but I was really slapped in the face there, and my friends my friends started calling me JP Droopins because I was such a sad human being when I lived there.
Oh.
And yeah, I was like I had a relationship that was that I was doing long distance with from a girl in New York, and
Hmm.
it just wasn't working, and I was just really sad because I always wanted to identify with something that was mine, and like acting right away seemed like it was going to be that. And I was like, oh my God, I'm finally good at something. I'm finally like, I finally have something that's not just like being the life of the party, that I can
Mhm.
say like, I'm actually something. And when I went to LA, it was like, bitch, you ain't shit,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh,
And that was a big wake up call for me. And looking back, I think it was really important, but at the time it was super, super sad.
yeah. That is really
So
tough.
that, I think that was 2015.
Yeah, and the reason why I asked is because that was your first Saturn return. Now, what this is in astrology is this is an initiation
Mm,
into adulthood. Everyone goes through this between the ages of 28 and 31, and I calculated yours. It was February 2015 until November 2015. So it essentially tells me that that entire year was just tough. Saturn's like the high school principal of the zodiac. You know, when you get called into the office, Julian, come into my office, it's like, oh shit, what did I do now? That's the energy that
yeah,
Saturn
yeah.
brings. So when it returns to the place that it was at on your birth chart natally when you were born, you have this initiation into adulthood. I filed for divorce the day my Saturn returned to my chart. And then I got my divorce finalized and my last name
Re-
reinstated as soon as it left.
really? Did you know that that was happening at the
No,
time?
I had no clue. So when
Right,
I went
right.
to astrology
Wow.
school at age
That's
31, we were looking at what's called an ephemeris, where you can look. This is a crazy book that breaks it down day by day, the degrees of where the planets are. And for fun, I was like, oh, I wonder when my first Saturn return started. It was the day, like April 8th, that I went to the courthouse, filed the papers. Baby Jay's first son was born on the day his Saturn return started.
wow.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a ton about Saturn return, and I remember because it's typically within like the 28 to 30 year
Yep.
like range, right? Like when you're
Yep.
28 into 30, or does that change?
No, it's between 28 and 30 for everyone.
It's yeah, I don't know like exact timelines anymore. I just turned 35 like a month ago, and so that was, that was a bit of time ago at this point.
Hmm.
So I don't know the exact timeline anymore with my memory, but um, that girlfriend and I split up, and that was like a major turning point for me in my
Hmm.
like in like how serious I was willing to take myself. Like I've worked my
Hmm.
ass off since, um, and I didn't even know, I didn't know work ethic then.
Yeah,
And when I went to LA and really had that humbling moment, and then came back and then broke up with this girl, that's when I, started getting sober for the first time,
good.
um, and really decided, it was right before turning 30 that I was like, all right, what do I want 30 to mean to me? Like, it doesn't have to mean anything. It's just a number, but I want it to mean something. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about that, and really had to, um, kind of go to a lot of really dark places to feel like,
Yes.
like I really wanted to kind of hate myself before I made changes, so that I could like never want to go back to that version of myself again, which like
Wow.
went played into like the drinking and the, like the substance abuse aspect of things. I
Of
was like, all
course.
right, I'm going to stop drinking on my 30th birthday. And so for like 3 months before my 30th birthday, I was it was like a 3-month bender. I was a mess. And
Oh,
I knew, and I was like, well, I know I'm going to stop. So I'm just going to keep going. Um, and I really wanted to, and I did this again this last time
yeah.
recently, where I was like, I want to actually hate me, so that I don't feel tempted to ever step foot back into
Yes.
those same shoes again.
Wow. That is powerful.
And
And
that's,
it's
yeah,
very,
that's
I don't
also
know if that's
concerning and
healthy.
shitty.
It's very concerning.
It's awful.
Saturn is really a planet I focus on for quite a bit during readings because this is the karmic lesson. If you believe in reincarnation, you can say, I, Julian, reincarnated, promising to learn the lesson of Sagittarius, because in your birth chart, Saturn was in Sagittarius when you were born. So with this placement, Either your gift is your ability to see humor in all situations and not take life so seriously, or you're avoiding the truth and living in a land of pretense. You really came here to be honest and not hold back. These are typically people who need to go through pain to experience joy. People with this placement like yours, you guys can experience a lot of joy, but you can experience addiction because Jupiter is ruled by Sagittarius. You may have a tendency to always think that people are being mean to you. It's easy for you to play victim sometimes. And you need to learn moderation and don't avoid your philosophical self. And be very cautious of joining like cult type things. Like, don't go to LA and say, I want to join that group of actors and be like this, be like that. You really need to be an individual and speak your truth, not try and fit in. Does this resonate?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I was, like I said, I listened to our podcast episode that we did 6 months ago, earlier, and one of the questions I asked you, because it felt so resonant with me, was, do you make decisions, like, is are the positive qualities of your life a result of having experienced the opposite of that, as and that is why you are able to kind of cultivate the alternative to that thing. um and I was asking that because that's how I feel. Like, I am a product of what I found to be ineffective in my life through trial and error, and falling really, really hard and being like, oh man, like, I need to do the opposite of that thing. So that's what I'm going to do. I have made, like, I only make mistakes. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever make the right decision in anything that I do. um, I just try my best not to make it again.
Yeah.
You're just laughing at me because you're like, oh my God, you're so sad.
No, I laugh because there's some placements in your chart that would indicate you are really hard on yourself. And when you make mistakes, there may be an inner voice in you because your moon is in Capricorn, and we'll get to that, that says, clean your fucking shit up. Like, you know better than this. What the fuck are you doing? This is embarrassing. A voice like that. Now,
Mm.
your sun is in Cancer, and we talked about this a little
Oh,
bit
yeah.
on our first episode. Cancers came here to master the human realm. Because remember how you were like, yeah, I'm a Cancer, I'm a fucking bitch, I cry over everything. Cancers do, because they came here to master the
Yeah, yeah.
spiritual experience of being a human, of feeling the whole spectrum of emotions. Not all of us are able to do that in the way that Cancers do. And you guys feel it in your gut. So, you know that phrase of, oh, that person gave me butterflies? Cancers feel that 10 times stronger than the average person. Cancers can intuitively feel in their gut when someone is off in a text message. Even if they say, hey, no, I'm good, what's up? Cancers can feel, no, you're not, something's up. It's hard
Mm.
to always feel those emotions. And cancers, of course, can be clingy and very sensitive, but Cancer is the sign of the highest evolution. If you can just learn to let your emotions be without reacting on them. Your,
Yeah,
your lesson
Mars
as you
applies
take a
to
deep
a lot of the
breath.
things. I've really only been able to kind of see these qualities of myself presented and illuminated so much more when I've been in relationships.
Yes.
And when I'm not in relationships, it's much harder for me to see them clearly, um, because, you know, girlfriends have really, like, called them out to my attention, and I've seen those things, and and yeah, I mean, I've struggled so hard to just try to, like, make sense of who I am and why I am the way that I am in the relationship
Mhm.
that I've been in, and it's ultimately resulted in the demise of the relationship, and
Yep.
why I'm currently, like, I mean, I I want to be single. I want to be on my own. I want to, like, learn as much as I can about myself, not so that I can be in a relationship either, just because I want to. I don't want to say the wrong thing about any of the girls that I've dated, because I think they're all lovely people, and
Mhm.
ultimately, we just didn't work out, and it was just the
Yep.
wrong situation. But so much of, like, what I have what I possess as a person is like this quality that is, I think really attractive in the beginning of anything. It's just like, wow, like if you meet me, and I think I have great friends who see it. Alan and I get along really well, and he sees me at the core of who I am. But in relationships, it's like I'm presenting this version of myself that is me, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're so charismatic and fun and open and raw and vulnerable." And then at the end of the relationship, they're like, "Oh my God, you are raw and vulnerable, and shut the fuck up, dude. Like, I hate this. Like, everything that I thought I loved, I
Oh.
don't at all." Um, and so it's been very reflective to be in relationships with girls who have really like pushed that back onto me to make me see. But it's also really like, made me resistant to ever wanting to be in a relationship again. And that, sucks because I have kind of a pessimistic outlook on being in them. And I even have
Mhm.
like really incredible females and women all around me that I'm like, I'm sorry, like I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna invest myself
Mhm.
into another relationship because I'm not gonna allow myself to get hurt, and I'm not gonna allow
Love
you to
that.
get hurt. And I also just don't want to be, I don't want to point that mirror back onto myself and have to like deal with that bullshit again.
Exactly. Oh, your birth
Um,
chart screams all of this.
so
Cancer is ruled by the crab. Whenever you guys get poked, you crawl back in your shell, and that's a hard shell. There's no getting in. That's what cancers do, and they get their feelings hurt so easily because remember, you came here to feel the whole spectrum of emotions, and sometimes that's overwhelming and scary. So you crawl back in your shell, and it takes a lot. It takes a really special person to make you feel safe enough again to come back out. Now, your Venus is in Leo. Venus is the planet that tells us how we love and how we want to be loved back, but also what we love. Venus in Leo is an actor. It's an actor. It's the actors and the actresses all have this placement. But in one-on-one relationships, you really want a partner that just thinks you are the only man in the world, who just adores you and watches all of your work and tells you how good you are, how awesome this script you're writing is, and just constantly fans your flame because Leo is a fire sign. But you have a Cancer rising on top of your Cancer sun, and your Mercury is in Cancer. Mercury is how you communicate and how you think. This tells me that when you feel emotions, it's like a flash flood. Just you're flooded and you kind of lose it. That Venus in Leo could make you very overly dramatic because Leo is the actors and actresses who have to be overly dramatic. But all this Cancer is just, it's a flood in your heart and in your brain. So you can't, in these moments with partners where you're having a dispute, you're just flooded. You can't. And you need to wait for those waters to recede so that you can tap into this Capricorn moon, which is a very grounded earth sign. This is a great placement to communicate exactly how you feel. But you just have to wait, give it time, walk away, give it a night, give it a couple days. Does that sound like you?
yeah, but my problem is that I don't give things a couple days. I don't practice patience very well
Of
outside of in
course.
my, I think because I have to practice patience so much in my professional career,
Hmm.
I I almost create this expectation that I shouldn't have to in my regular life.
Yep.
And so
Hmm.
it makes me like a little bit entitled to situations,
Yep.
not because I am or am not, just because I I I like have these expectations. I don't know how to just like walk away and take my time and like let it fall
Yep.
off. Like I have to move through stuff like when it's happening. And like, again, like to just bring up like relationships. And I'm sure if any of my ex-girlfriends are listening, hi. Also like sorry, because I like we'd get in these fights and I would like, they would even be like, all right, like let's stop and like come back to this. And I'd be like, nope, I need to keep talking until this is figured out. And I don't care because like I can't go to sleep. I can't do anything in
Yep.
my brain until this is resolved.
Cancer.
And I know, I know my most previous girlfriend had the wherewithal to be like, actually get out of my house and go on a walk. And,
I
I think
like
I did it
her.
maybe a couple times in the relationship. Yeah. And I went um, and it totally helped,
Yep.
and I
Yep.
know that helps, but in the moment. I think because, and I see it a lot in acting. Acting is like the thing that I feel so connected to, um, in like who I am within, because I am so impulsive, and I act so much on my instincts, and I'm not logical. I'm not like thinking ahead. I'm just talking and saying things, and I'm having to learn how to like sometimes just not talk, sometimes like just sit there and listen and like wait and be patient. And it's, I think it's a giant blessing, but a humongous curse at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I think I need to learn how to get better at walking away and like and
Yeah.
letting, and like if and when I am going through something that I'm feeling super heavily, understanding that it's going to pass, and also just like letting myself go have like a 10-minute breather,
Yeah.
because I'll put myself into work, and it's like it's the substitution of addiction things.
Yep.
Like the alcohol used to be something that I was like, I'm feeling anxious, I'm going to start drinking. Now it's like, I'm feeling anxious, I'm gonna start writing, or I'm gonna like work on this play, or I'm gonna, I have a huge list of things that I need to do. And it's never just like go and like take a nap, or like just
Yeah.
go
Do you
walk
have a
and clear your
spiritual
head.
practice?
I probably like every third day. Sometimes it's more consistent, but I'd say like currently it's every third day. I'll wake up in the morning and I'll do like a 15-minute breathing exercise that will
Good.
lead into a 10-minute attempt at meditating. And then I will take a cold shower for like
Okay.
5 minutes and just breathe through the cold shower. And then I'll come and I'll journal for a few pages. And that's like my morning routine. I don't know how spiritual it is. It honestly, to
It
me,
is.
feels more like this is what you need to do to like start your day right. And then it becomes a habit to where if I don't do it, I feel guilty. So
Yeah.
it's not really like, I don't know that I can credit it to being like a spiritual practice,
Hmm.
because it honestly feels like a task that I need to do to make myself feel right.
Yeah. I love that you guys, you and Alan, are still welcome and open to things like astrology and light working, because you, my friend, have one of the rarest placements that I've seen in a birth chart, and that is your Cancer sun lives in the 12th house. What does that mean? This is someone who has many past lives culminating to create the one that you're in now. So, as I was saying earlier, I had a whole podcast where I shared my experience that I recently had doing a soul retrieval ceremony, which is when you work one on one with an energetic healer and you really tap into all of your past lives and see which ones may be affecting your life today. Like, for instance, if you have any irrational fears or trust issues, like for me, I didn't trust men, and I didn't trust romantic partners, especially because I thought they would cheat on me or they would betray me. But I have never been cheated on. I've never been betrayed by a man. Where did this come from? It came from many past lives. So having your sun in the 12th house like you do tells me that you are extremely spiritual. You are a natural born psychic, and people like you need to step away from the hustle and bustle to access these spiritual gifts.
Yeah, that's cool to hear. And I find that, I just started. I don't mean to always bring it back to acting, but acting is such a humongous part of my
Yeah, it's act.
experience,
You are meant to
and
be an
and
actor.
where you is that what you see
Of
there? Because sometimes
$1,000%. All over your
huh,
birth chart.
that's interesting.
Your midheaven
Um,
is in Pisces. Midheaven is our career line, what we're going to do for money in this lifetime. Pisces is the actors, the artists, the creative, the singers, musicians. Yes. So you are in your
So it's
flow,
like
my
you're gonna be
friend.
broke as fuck for the rest of your life. You're gonna be broke as
No.
fuck for the rest of your life, but you're gonna be acting in black box theaters when you're 72. Get
No,
ready for
taking
it.
blocks, blocks. No, okay. You want some good news since we've been talking about really heavy stuff?
Sure.
Yes, you do. Look at that smile. Yes, you do. So, you actually have one of the strongest placements in your chart that would indicate you will be very famous, like Leonardo DiCaprio famous. You have Your sun sitting on
Oh,
your ascendant, sitting on your rising. Whenever the sun is conjunct our ascendant sign, this is someone with a huge personality. They're famous, they're well known. They walk in a room and they get the role without even trying out. You're very commanding. This is when, so when you were saying earlier, I went to LA, I just landed things, I don't know how. It's because you've got this sun conjunct ascendant energy to you. You are powerful. You're a powerhouse. This could be really intimidating for some people who aren't confident in themselves, just you being around. You need to learn that
that's
power comes through
I
you,
don't
not
that's
from you.
yeah, that's difficult to accept and hear and be like, "Oh, I knew it." Like I don't,
I knew
and
it.
honestly, like there's more fear attached. There's more
Of
fear
course.
attached to the notion of that being a reality than anything.
Right?
But it makes a lot of sense. And as I'm listening to you talk, it's like I think here's an example. I started uh, acting spontaneously, and I booked work. I had no idea what I was doing. I moved to New York and I started training how to act. Then I started auditioning, and I wasn't booking any work. And there was one audition that I went to in LA from a woman who had cast me back in Seattle when I hadn't left yet, and she asked me to come in and audition for her because she loved me a lot the first time she met me and worked with me. And so she was like, "I have a perfect thing for you." So I go into the room and I audition for her, and she stops me halfway and she's just like, "Julian, I'm really sorry I'm stopping you, but you have lost everything that you had the first time. I can totally tell that you moved to New York and trained as an actor, and that's not a compliment." It was like you have
Wow.
like lost all of your instincts. You have lost all of the nuances of who you were when you didn't know what you were doing. Now you know what you're doing, but you're not doing it the same way. And so I think to your point, like if I'm trying to connect this right, it's like the work that I try to do so much is conditioned in me by society and by culture, because I'm like, I need to like book auditions and I need to get work and I need to do this and I need to like have a certain amount of money in my bank account and I need to, like prove that I am a worthy actor by being, climbing the ladder of success in this business. And all of that stuff, all of those ideas and the stresses that come with it ultimately just weigh on me so heavily that they are counterproductive to my
Art.
forward movement as an actor and my art. Whereas if I just allow myself to exist spiritually, holistically, and like as exactly as like my instincts allow me to, then I will thrive. And I
Exactly.
find that I do that, but I've become so conditioned in this lifestyle that I've cultivated out here in New York that I've like become a product of the machine almost,
Yep.
and it scares the shit out of me.
As it
Um,
should.
and and it scares the shit out of me even more to hear, you talk about this notion of fame and success. And
Mhm.
because a big reason why I really don't want to drink anymore in my life is because I don't want to run the risk of actually getting successful and then killing myself because I'm such a
Yep.
fucking maniac and I don't know how to deal with that kind of
Yes.
light on
If
me.
if there is any
um
homework I could
Not to
give
say that
you,
I
it would
please.
be to study your Jupiter and Pisces. Get very familiar with that. Google it, buy astrology books, whatever you can, because studying that, acknowledging it, knowing it is there within your stardust DNA, we call it, can bring such a level of relief that, okay, I have this tendency, but I'm not going to invite it in for tea. You have a lot of abilities in your chart. Your moon is in Capricorn. Our moon sign is our inner world. So our sun sign is who we are with our friends, with our family. It's our ego, it's our self-expression, our identity, our personality. Our moon sign is just the opposite. This is why I have my moon sign tattooed on me, because I think it's so important. It's who we are when we're alone. It's who we are when you get home from an audition or you get home from being on stage and it's quiet and you're alone. What character comes out? For you, that's Capricorn. That's quiet. That's rigid. These are people who are very realistic, unforgiving. They're very loyal. Moon sign is the true test of compatibility with someone. So never say, I'm a Cancer, you're a Sagittarius, we're not a good match. You do very well with Earth people. But what I'm getting at with the Earth moon is there's a crazy thunderstorm, so you might hear some thunder. Your Earth moon can really ground
No problem.
that tendency to go for alcohol, to go for any types of substances.
Sorry, I'm just hearing your thunder in the
Isn't
background.
that
It's
cool?
like it's almost as if it's like happening because of what's
It
happening
is.
in our
It
conversation.
is. It totally is.
That's
Spiritual
cool.
cleanse.
Sorry,
But you have,
I honestly didn't even hear what you.
yeah.
I didn't even hear what you said. You have to back it up and say that again.
I know I love thunderstorms, so I'm trying to stay focused too. But your Capricorn moon can really
So
ground you.
cool.
It can pull you down and say, you cannot have alcohol. This is not a good time to have this cocktail. Put it down. Stay loyal to yourself. Be very conservative. Capricorn is the sign of being conservative. They don't want to drink. They don't want to look a mess in front of people. These are the CEOs of the zodiac. So who you are when you're alone can be a very serious, quiet, rigid person, whereas who you are when you're out and about is funny, life of the party, big personality, hilarious, dramatic. But you're just the opposite when you're at home by yourself. Would you say so?
100%. It's crazy, and you know what's interesting is that I'm starting to find this like interesting medium balance in podcasting like this because I can like I want to be turned on to a certain level because this is a public platform that like I'm putting this on, and for that I want it to at least be compelling. So for that reason, I'm there's some effort going into this, but at the same time, I'm trying to be just like as raw and
Real.
open and real with myself as I can be. And so it feels like there's kind of like a mix of like I'm out in the world, but I'm not because I'm here in my space and I'm just like trying to live.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool approach at like easing myself into trying to figure out where that like that good space is for me to be. Because I don't want to be an extremist where like out in the world I'm like, hey everybody, I'm fucking crazy and I want to party and I want to be the fucking the life of everything, and then I come home and I'm just like, well, first of all, I'm exhausted because I've
Yep.
just exerted all of my energy, and I want to be able to like be who I am, where I am, when I am, like
Yep.
everywhere. um and but yes, it makes total sense. Like I come home and I'm like I'd like to say that I'm laser focused and like super dedicated to what I'm doing, and I am, but I confuse movement for progress so often, and I work way harder than I do smart. And so often I'm like at home and I'm just like putting all this effort and energy into things, and I'm in my space and I'm practicing my solitude and I'm doing something, but it's like I'm just doing stuff to do stuff as a substitute for like what I would be doing otherwise.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess it's a better alternative to being out and drinking and partying and just wasting money and time and brain space. But at the same time, it's like it can be just as detrimental sometimes
Yeah.
because I'll just sit here and like, for example, I'll be working on a script and I like won't go anywhere else. I'll sit here and I'll look at a page for 8 hours. I'll
Yeah.
just look at that, and I will have written like 8 lines
Yep.
in 8 hours. And I can see
Yeah.
like the script program shows me how much physical time I've spent writing and how much physical time I've spent thinking, and it'll be like
Oh,
2.5 minutes of writing
writing.
and like
Oh.
8.36 hours
But see, that's your
of
sun in the
thinking, and I'm
12th
just like,
house.
what? is
Yeah, you need to step away. You've got to, do you see the lightning in my face? You've got to step away. And with this Jupiter and Pisces, yes, the
yeah.
downside of it is substance abuse and alcohol and drugs. Escapism is the word for Jupiter and Pisces. But the high road is you can take all of that
Mhm.
energy that you would pour into drinking and partying and raging, pour it into art. You live in New York, go upstate where it's super quiet and there's a lot of nature, and take a pottery class, take a painting class. Art is your release. Totally is. And spirituality. Once you feel comfortable enough to really
Yeah.
open up to it, go to a cacao ceremony, maybe try an ayahuasca ceremony if you're feeling wild, but do something spiritual. Really get in tune with the full moon cycle, the new moon cycle, because Sun in the 12th house, this should be such a strong piece of your life.
I think you're right. I have a hard time prioritizing that stuff for myself because I believe that there's always something that I need to be doing
Yep.
otherwise.
Why?
And that's
Where did
some
that come
like,
from?
so I have no idea because I didn't have like discipline is really a new thing for me
Ah,
as new as like the last within the like in the last decade at least because growing up I had none,
uh-huh.
like actually none. I hardly graduated from high school because I was such a fucking idiot and just like partying and having a good time and popular and
Yeah.
just smoking a ton of weed and rapping and like I thought I was just gonna like become a rapper and like
Where's your
do this shit.
mixtapes?
This is
Please
actually
let me
this is
see
actually me and my
this.
brother's band. It's right here. This is me and my brother's old rap group, Los Fancy Lads. You can see it on our shirts right here.
Please tell me there's
I
YouTube
was
videos,
rocking it for today. My
something.
brother's birthday today.
Happy birthday,
Yeah,
bro.
totally. I'll send you some music. We made a whole album. We made a whole album. It was the Audio Circus. It was great. I had no discipline. I mean, I guess in music, when I was tapped into something I liked, then sure. But like that aside, the music aside, I was like, I didn't know I didn't need to have any because I was just having a good time and everything was kind of happening around me. And so it wasn't until I was like really in New York and a few years here that I really realized that I needed to have discipline to do something and I started to like make that substitution thing with like okay, like substitute this thing for that thing. And then discipline became like okay, like I lost a bunch of weight. Like I used to be much heavier
Mhm.
fat kid and I lost weight and I was like, okay, cool. If I can like lose weight and get like, you know, to look like a buff bro and be like a gym douchebag in these television shows and books, like awesome. This is what I'm gonna do. This is like now
Yep.
my brand and I'm gonna start doing this. And I found discipline in like these superficial ways through like acting, and it's like as an example, which was working out. At first, it was just like cool. I can just get like really focused and like put. And you hear this a million times. It's not unique to me. Where like people stop drinking and they just start like exercising super hard because
Yeah.
they just like need to like let loose. Like they need to get something out of their system. But then I got really disciplined in my acting and then really disciplined in my writing and then like really disciplined just like on a level of like I'm obsessed with the idea of staying disciplined because if I'm
Yeah.
not, then I'm going to make bad decisions.
Yeah.
And then it was like sobriety and so it's a hard thing to like ooh thunder. God, that's awesome. It's a hard thing to like quantify and understand. But I I am just now learning like that. I don't know where it came from because I don't know. My parents weren't either. My parents weren't necessarily great examples of like even love. They loved us as kids, but they weren't in a happy
Yeah.
relationship and pulled the rug out from under us at a young age. Um, and everything that I thought was true was not. Um, like my whole
Oh,
identity as an adolescent was just like completely stripped, and that really like set me off onto a new path of like I didn't have like from the age of 11 till now I didn't have rules. Like nobody was giving
same
me
here.
guidance, nobody was telling me what to do. Yeah.
Same here. I
And
was
so
never grounded,
that
nothing.
that led me nothing. And I have two older brothers and they kind of experienced like the being disciplined
Yeah.
early on. But I was like the first kid to do everything. I was the first kid to do drugs. I was the first kid to get drunk. I was the first kid to lose my virginity before I had even gone through puberty. It didn't even make
Oh,
sense. Like it didn't even work. And like, just because I was the guy that would. because
Yeah.
nobody was telling me not to. Um, so, when I think about role models or like where I got these things from, I'm like, I don't know. And that I don't want to discredit the people in my life, like my parents, who have been instrumental for me in all these different capacities. But I'm always so confused, and why I'm constantly just like, why am I the way I am? Where did this come from? Why do I act this way? This is so bizarre. And I
Hmm.
ask my brothers and I ask my parents, and they're just like, dude, you are too like in your head. You're too
Yeah.
psychological about all this stuff. Like just chill. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to know.
Cancers always want to assign meaning because, again, they feel the whole spectrum of emotions and they want to know why. What is this for? Why am I suffering through this? Or why is this so intense? And you also, this is getting a little advanced in the reading, but I wrote it down to share with you because it's the second most important aspect in astrology. So, in astrology, we have things like squares, oppositions, conjunctions, those are aspects. You have sun opposite moon. And this tells me you are someone of polarities and extremes. This could, of course, manifest as bipolar or super healthy and fit one day and then drinking and eating shit the next day. This is a very competitive person who finds out about themselves through competition with others. And over time, with this placement, you've got to learn to balance trusting in the seen and the unseen, spirituality and things you can see.
What is it about the competition? Because that's something that I'm fascinated by, because I don't find myself being very competitive in nature.
Are you competitive with yourself?
Pro- I must be, because I'm constantly
Yeah.
trying to like outdo myself and
Yeah,
level up and get better, and like I'm never enough. I'm never good enough,
exactly.
and not I'm never like fully satisfied by where I am.
There it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, the sun is the head, the moon is the heart.
yeah,
So when they're in
and
opposition, they're opposite each other. They're kind of fighting for dominance there. So your head's telling you one thing, your heart's telling you another. They kind of pull at each other. It can be hard to bring balance to these things, especially in relationships, not to change the subject. But oftentimes when I have clients with sun opposite moon, they really struggle with relationships eluding them, being elusive. They can find someone and ignore all the 10 red flags and focus on the one green one and fantasize the relationship, only to find out later, inevitably, oh, this person is everything my intuition told me they were. Why did I fall for them?
wow. Yeah, I was talking to a friend a while ago and talking about like who I am and why in relationships, and why my relationships have, at least making a theory out of why the relationships have failed. And I think what I wind up doing is assuming or thinking or trying to love somebody so hard
Yep.
and giving them so much of my energy and of my heart and of my humanity that it is actually impossible for them to reciprocate.
Yep.
And then I get upset because they're not able to reciprocate
Yes.
on that full level.
If there are any astrologers listening to
and
this, they are
and
all
it's
going,
but it was
yes,
never
that's
going
a
to be able to
Cancer.
happen. Like,
That's a
don't
Cancer.
applaud that. it's it
I
sucks.
know. It does suck. You know, Baby J has a Cancer
It's
rising.
like,
And this is something we frequently run into
uh-huh.
because I don't have any Cancer placements in my chart. I'm a very individual person. I am me, myself, and I'm a narcissist. No, I'm not. But I don't have any Cancer, nurturing, soft, intuitive placements. I don't feel the depth of emotions like you and Baby J do. So we often, like, he'll walk by when I'm working and just see that I have an empty water cup and he'll go fill it up and bring me a snack because he knows I need to eat every two. He does things like that to nurture me, take care of me. I don't think of it. I wake up in the morning, I go pour my glass of water, and I'm just chilling outside. Whereas he wakes up, pours 2 glasses of water, for one for him, one for me, and thinks, why don't you think of me? Why don't you do
What a
that for
guy.
me? And I'm like, I'm sorry, it's not that I don't love you. That's not how my brain's wired. So that's a very Cancer thing is you guys give, nurture,
Yeah,
nurture, nurture. And it's
yeah.
never, ever reciprocated unless you're in a relationship with someone that has a lot of Cancer in their chart like you. That could be a very beautiful dynamic of just giving and receiving.
I don't know that I need that though. Like, it just, I don't know that I need somebody to give as much as me. I think what I need, at least if in the interest of relationships, is like to pull back and to like not feel like like you know I've had a lot of conversations with people about how I give out energy,
Yeah.
and for a long time it's been really like misused, and I just kind of distribute it to everybody and anywhere, like, and
Yep.
it can be insulting to people that actually deserve it, because I don't do really well with I'm starting to really establish boundaries for myself,
Good.
because if I don't, then I'm just everybody's getting my energy, and it's like an equal amount. Like somebody that I've spent 30 years with is getting the same amount of energy that like fuck boy at the bar who's just like, "What's
Oh,
up, dude? I like your shirt." I'm like, "Oh, bro, I fucking love you, man." And it's just like, why am I treating these
no.
people as equals? They're not, but I'm doing
Yes.
that because I'm just like, I want everybody to feel like equal love from me. um I need to learn, and like giving love is a great thing, but like preserving excuse me, preserving some of that energy, not so that I can just give it to people, but so that I can just like fill myself up and just feel
Yes.
energized as a person for myself. Not so that I can like give love and get love in return. My whole life I've like given love so that I can get love.
Yep.
Like that's been my whole approach. It's just like, if I love everybody, then everybody's going to love me, and I want everybody to love me. So I'm just going to
Mhm.
love everybody. And it's like it's exhausting, and it leaves me coming home by myself, laying down and being like,
Exhausted.
I fucking hate myself.
Yes.
Like,
So drained.
yeah. I've had a lot of conversations with people about how I give out energy,
Yeah.
and for a long time it's been really like misused, and I just kind of distribute it to everybody and anywhere, like, and
Yep.
it can be insulting to people that actually deserve it, because I don't do really well with I'm starting to really establish boundaries for myself,
Good.
because if I don't, then I'm just everybody's getting my energy, and it's like an equal amount. Like somebody that I've spent 30 years with is getting the same amount of energy that like fuck boy at the bar who's just like, "What's
Oh,
up, dude? I like your shirt." I'm like, "Oh, bro, I fucking love you, man." And it's just like, why am I treating these
no.
people as equals? They're not, but I'm
Yes.
doing that with my mom. So she kind of got my attention, and I got her attention more. Um, but they both, loved me equally. I just didn't know that they didn't love each other, until
Mm.
I found that out. And I didn't even find that out until I was an adult. It was just like I thought growing up that I was a like a a perfect child. Like
Yeah.
I grew up in a pretty nice house. We had nice things. It was like this cul-de-sac. We had cool neighbors. We were just like my dad's from Ecuador, so we would travel to Ecuador like 3 times a year. I was
Cool.
like cultured, cool. Like I would go to show and tell and be like, "This is the aloe plant that I got from the Amazon jungle. What the fuck do you have?" Like I wasn't being an asshole about it, but like I was I just like felt like my whole life was just like this awesome, like and it was my experience. I didn't know any different, so it was just like,
Right.
I'm the best. I am the greatest. And in fact, there's this story that I've told before where I had $99 in my parents' safe. They had a little safe in their walk-in closet.
Oh,
I was probably like 7 or 8 years old. And this was the same time that Macaulay Culkin had like high, humongous fame. And
yeah.
Richie Rich had come out. Do you remember this movie, Richie
Yeah.
Rich?
Yep.
And so I remember having $99 in an envelope in my parents' safe, and thinking, nobody told me anything, nobody made me believe anything, but I told myself, I I will not put another dollar into that envelope, because if I have $100, I will be the wealthiest, richest kid in the world opposite Macaulay Culkin, and I don't want that responsibility, so I'm just gonna take number two. I'll be two. He can have that. And
What?
like, and it wasn't because anybody was like making me believe that. I just thought like, I'm the best. I have like, my life is so good. And when my parents split up, it was like, wait,
What?
what?
That doesn't
What are
happen
you
to us.
talking about? And then it was like infidelity, and yeah, and it was like, cheating, and the reason why, dad was not on this trip was because he was back with this person, and the reason why mom wasn't there for this thing, same thing. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, and everything started to like become clear, but not until I was like 25 years old. So I just didn't even want to know what happened. I was
Oh
just
no.
ignorant my whole life to what even was the reality of the situation. Couldn't have conversations with my brothers about it. Didn't want to because I didn't know even what to ask. I wasn't sure I wanted to know. I was just scared. And
That's
so,
that Mercury
uh,
and Cancer, the flood of
that all of
emotions.
those things, like,
I don't know what to ask. I don't know what to feel. I don't know what to do
dude,
because this is
it's
so much.
yeah, yeah, and it's rooted in this idea that everything was perfect until it was all fucked
Not.
up, and then it
How do
just
you
turned
think
into
that's
chaos
affected your
because it was
romantic
like,
relationships today?
I mean, probably in every way. Like, I don't have a lot of trust. I have really
Of
big trust
course.
issues,
Of
and
course.
I find that when I get into relationships, I start getting jealous. I
Yeah.
start like questioning things. Questioning. I like. It's really hard for me to take things at face value
Hmm.
because it's like, well, if the people that I loved and trusted and trust still the most could
Can do this.
like pull the wool over my eyes like that, then like,
You can too.
who,
So you enter into a
why would I
relationships with the
believe you?
subconscious belief of everything is perfect until it's not. So this honeymoon phase, the first 3 months of a relationship are great. We're in love. This is
Yeah,
fantastic. Could I marry her one day? Maybe. But then when is the rug going to be pulled out from underneath of me? So just that subconscious belief can trigger everything. The
yeah,
jealousy, the possessiveness, the controlling, because your inner child is trying to
yeah,
control and make sure you never feel that again.
yeah. And in fact, I I pessimistically look at relationships and forecast 10 years out and
Yeah.
say, "Oh great, like you're the best. You are so awesome." But are we going to fucking hate each other in 10 years?
Cheat on each
Probably.
other.
So let's
Yeah.
just not do this.
Because
Let's
why
just not
bother?
do it. And
That would hurt.
that's such a sad thing to approach any type of relationship with, because I don't do that with my platonic friendships. And in
Right.
fact, I'm like at this point in my life now where I'm like, can I just have platonic friendships and like never like be romantic with
Anything
anybody, and
more?
just like,
No.
I like, especially when I'm not drinking, I'm like, I'm not I know, but I don't know. Like, I ask, a lot of people and myself sometimes, like, can I just be a bachelor for the rest of my life? Like, I don't necessarily know. I mean, I'm not opposed. I'm not against or denying that, like, if somebody comes into my life that I'm so fucking stoked on, that I won't be like, yeah, absolutely. But I'm just not seeking it. I'm just not like looking for that. I'm not like waiting for anything like that to happen. And I find that I'm just so much happier when I'm not in a relationship.
And that's a
Once I'm out of
phase.
it, once I'm like actually out,
Yeah,
say it
because you don't
again.
have to worry. It's just it's a phase right now, perhaps, that you're just like, I don't want a relationship. I looked at transits on your chart. Everything's focused on career right now for you, but that's a whole other conversation. But this is just your birth chart, is that you really did come here to have partnership and perhaps family, because people with Cancer and their sun, moon, or rising, you've got a double whammy.
Hmm.
They really want to have children. They want to have a family. This is what Cancer rules, the home life. And you have Pluto in the fifth house, which tells me if you were to have children someday, they would probably be prodigies. Very smart, very different. Just transform your life as well.
Hmm. Well, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I feel like, and I've even talked to people, just having like, I remember having like this drunk conversation in a bar one time with this guy that I had like just met, and
Those are the
he
best
had kids, and he had
conversations.
like, we were like talking. I know, and he was like crying because he had been like a bad dad, his in his life,
Oh,
and he was looking at me, and he was just like, and I was just like, yeah, man, like I don't think I could have kids, and he looked at me and he started crying, and he was just like, please, please, Julian, have kids. The
yep,
world needs to have more
yep,
people like you bringing life into
yes,
this
they
world. Like,
do. Yes.
please. And I thought he was going to be like, yeah, dude, don't. I thought he was going to be like the opposite, be like, yeah, dude, it's the worst. Like, I've been awful. Like, don't do it. But he was just like, please
Well,
do
how
it.
did
And
that
I was
make you
like, wow,
feel when
dude,
he looked
that's
at you and said,
crazy.
please have children? What did that stir up in you?
yeah, I mean, I remembered it, right? I'm talking about it now, so it obviously stuck, and I
Mhm.
believe that. I believe that I would be a great, loving, caring dad.
Yes, so
Um, but I don't want. I can't be a great, loving, caring dad unless I have such a dope human being on my side doing the mom thing with me.
yeah.
I mean, I can be a single dad, but like, I might as well just adopt a little kid and like go hang out with them for the rest of my life. But like, if I'm gonna have children, it's gotta be it's gotta
Mhm.
be somebody that I'm so stoked on.
And
I have
comfortable and feel
most of my
safe
friends
with.
now have kids. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
same here.
Most of my kids, yeah, like, we're in that age. And, I look at all of them and, I've had a lot of conversations with all of them where I'm like, with all due respect, man, like, I'm not really sold on this whole thing by
I
watching
don't
you guys.
envy you.
Like, I
Yeah.
love, not at all. Like, I love that you guys, have this situation for yourself, but like, I'm so much happier that I don't. And I understand that I am missing out on a part of life that I know nothing about because I haven't experienced what you are currently experiencing. But I'm not going to go have children because I know that there's something that I'm missing, because
Right.
right now I'm not missing anything. I'm
Yeah.
trying to like create things because I have the time and space to do that. Um, so I'm not going to have kids or be in a relationship because I think those things are going to like
It's a biological
be an
thing I have
answer
to
for
do.
me. Yeah.
Right.
And so the relationship has to come first before I can even consider the children thing. And it's all just really convoluted and hard and messy, like everybody's life is, and
Mhm.
nobody that's married now is going to just be like, oh yeah, man, like let me tell you, it's just like totally easy if you find the right person. It's never.
No,
And I'm
it's
happy to
always
work
work.
my ass off and have hard times with somebody who kicks ass.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I just
Did you ever share
haven't been
that
able to make that
trauma
work
with
quite yet.
your romantic partners? Like, hey, this is what I went through. I saw my parents cheat on each other and just completely spontaneously combust in front of me. So this is kind of a wound for me. This is a trigger point, and this is why I may act some like an asshole sometimes. Did you ever share that openly?
I mean, it's part of my narrative.
Hmm.
So of course I've shared it before. And it's come with more, and other people have shared their things. And, it's just like, I think, I think all of my girlfriends have been receptive to that information and empathetic with that. And they've had their own things themselves. Uh, but ultimately, like, I don't know, part of me is just like, I want somebody who's like been through the same thing. Like I'm
Yes.
looking for like a therapist who I can talk to that has like gone through similar things so that we can like really relate, rather than somebody that's like, well, I know how to like diagnose this thing from a clinical standpoint because
Exactly.
this looks like this and that. It's just like, no, man, I need like experiential conversations from like, oh yeah, man, like,
Yeah.
I've been gone through some real shitty shit too. And like, look, I'm not sitting here trying to be like, my life has been so hard and shitty. I've been very fucking privileged,
Yeah.
and it's been epic, given so many other situations and circumstances. But at the same time, to each their own. Everybody has their own circumstances, and yeah, I don't know. I definitely had these conversations with girls, and it's still, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Some people just don't
Get it.
let it
They don't
let
fully
it sink
understand.
in to
Yeah.
like know. Some people just don't know what to do with that information.
Yeah. Well, why are you attracted to women who don't know what to do with it?
Probably. Yeah, I don't know. Probably because I'm like, I don't know. Like, I need somebody to like nurture me, but I actually don't want I don't want to like have to feel like I need to be nurtured, and I don't want to feel like I'm looking like, don't they say that you want like you're going after somebody that you want, like, that you remember your mom to be as.
Yeah.
So you're like looking for your mom, at least
Yeah.
as like a man. I'm not sure if this is true or
Hmm.
not,
Yeah.
but none of my girlfriends have really been that way for me. And I don't know, like, sometimes I think I'm maybe looking for the opposite of that because I'm trying to be like,
You're trying to
I don't
avoid
know. I
experiencing
don't
what you
know.
witnessed. Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I've also just been, like sexually attracted first, and that's been like the
Yeah.
beginning stages of
Yeah.
every relationship I've ever been in. It's been like, ah, you're so attractive. Let's let's sleep together and like
And
have some
then see.
conversations and then like just
Right.
dive into this thing and then see, and then we're invested, and then we start seeing, and then ultimately it gets messy
That's funny you brought
and
that
it
up
ends,
because
and
your Mars,
I just become too much.
Mars in our birth chart tells us how we take initiative towards new projects, but it's also our sexual nature, our aggression nature, our masculine energy. Yours is in Capricorn, so this tells me that you love to work. You just love to work. When you think of a new idea, you'll set up a game plan, get organized, and go. There's no procrastination there. Now, in terms of sexual energy, your Mars lives in the eighth house of sex. Whoa, whenever I see Mars in the eighth, immediately I'm like, this is a very sexual person, strong sexual energy. So there's polarities to every placement and every sign in astrology. The polarities of this one, on the downside, you want to have sex first and then get to know someone. On the positive side, you'll get to know someone intellectually
God, that's
first
the worst.
before you reveal your body, your sacred body to this person. Because have you ever seen those memes where when you not memes, but like infographics on Instagram, where when you have sex with someone, you are intertwining their energy with yours. So if you are having sex with someone who's got so much trauma, so many addictions, hates herself, you're inviting that energy into your body. So you could feel like shit after, and it's not even you, it's that person. So the high side of Mars in the eighth house is someone who just loves to be touched. This is like tantric sex. These are people who have sex for the spiritual bond that can give you to someone, especially yourself.
Well, where's she at?
You have to have eyes that can see her. Because right now we always use the table analogy. Right now, perhaps your dinner
Yeah.
table is dirty. It's got ketchup stains, mustard stains, spilled red wine from past relationships, and then the trauma you went through with your family. It's dirty. So she's walking by and she's like, "That doesn't look very inviting. It looks really dirty and messy." And I'm going to keep walking until you do the shadow work and clean it up, change your tablecloth, set the
Mhm.
table again. They're not going to even be on your radar because maybe someone's still in that seat, someone you need to let go and get rid of.
Do you think that like we're all supposed to be with somebody? Like,
Not, well,
are we like,
that's a
are we
loaded
supposed
question.
to, like, because right, I know, but like you're saying, like, I'm missing this person, but I'm also not looking. And even if I knew that person existed and it was like,
You
hey,
wouldn't,
in like this coming week,
I'm going to find
you're
him.
like, you're gonna see that person.
Yeah,
I still would be like, no, I wouldn't even, it wouldn't change my experience. I'd be like, cool. I'm not gonna
great.
like look. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna
I
like
think
be out there looking for it. I'm just gonna continue doing
primally,
what I'm doing.
humans are made to live in a community to take care of each other. Primarily speaking, we are not meant to live by ourselves. We can't survive on our own. So if we go that deep, yes, we are meant to pair up in this lifetime. But I love how you say, I'm not looking for that person because I often, so many times, work with people who are desperately searching for their twin flame or their soulmate. And they ask me, Steph, look at my birth chart. When am I going to find them? Who are they going to be? And I'm like, that's not how you find them. You don't go looking for them. You do exactly as you are and just continue doing things to improve yourself and to bring yourself joy and happiness. That's how you find people. I found Baby J because I was doing the podcast, which I loved. It started off as a
Yeah,
hobby, just an online diary, and he was
I know.
listening to it way down in Texas, a place I ain't never been before. And he just
Yeah.
reached out like, "Hey, dope podcast. I have a quick question about this subject." And we just hit it off. I was like, "Cool, what's up? Let's talk about it." Friends for 8 months, and then met in person and fell in love.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. And again, I'm not closed off to that idea of that
Yeah.
happening. I'm just I really am, and maybe it's just because of the phase I'm in right now or where I'm
Yes.
at in my life and being 35 and single without children, but I
Yep.
feel like I don't need to have a relationship right now, or
You don't.
maybe ever. I don't know. I have so many cool friends in my life and such a great community. And until somebody is just so obviously just perfect, or I don't know, maybe I don't think that's going to happen either, like until it just like becomes like obvious to me that it's
Yep.
going to work. I just I don't want it.
Have you heard that
I don't
when you
need it.
meet the wrong person and they actually send off your nervous system just into shock? So when you hear things like, "Oh, we had such great chemistry," or "Oh, I get nervous every time I see her," those are actually red flags that they are stirring up like a trauma response from childhood. They say when you meet quote unquote the one, you feel very comfortable. You can take a deep breath. You don't feel like you need to grab a cocktail to take the edge off. You just feel like you can kick it and be your Capricorn moon self. That's a good indication that you've met someone who could really have a long lasting relationship with you.
And you and Baby J have, like, when you look at your charts, they're compatible with each other as well.
Yeah.
Like, you can see that,
Yeah.
or are there ways and like variations to these things where it's just like, actually these don't work out, but we're proving the theory's wrong.
Yeah, of course. Astrology, I always caution people, don't take astrology for like 100%. This is what I need to do. I need to follow this. It's a weather prediction. I can use your chart and say, hey, there's a chance it's going to rain this weekend. Even though you said you wanted to go camping, perhaps bring a tarp, bring rain gear, or just don't go. That's what astrology does. It's a predictive tool. So, like I said, there's good and bad parts to every single placement. So, Baby J and I, we actually have the ultimate, which is
Yeah.
matching moon signs. Moon sign is your authentic self, that character you are when you're by yourself, or who you become when you're in a romantic partnership. Like who you are with Alan is not who you are when you're home alone with a girlfriend. You're two different characters. You're Cancer with Alan, and then you're Capricorn at home with her. So Baby J and I both have Scorpio moons, which Scorpio is the most deep, that's the eighth house sign of sex, deep, loyal, strong, strong bond. So on our first date, we got matching tattoos.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's that's a commitment.
It is. He's my homie. No matter
I would
what,
be
he's
so
my
scared to do
friend
that with
for
somebody, but at
life.
the same time, of course, yeah, yeah, that's rad. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've never spent physical, actual time with you guys. I plan on
Yeah,
it. Um,
please.
but what I see is epic. And you guys also are not married, and you guys have been together for a relatively short amount of time. And I don't want, my pessimistic brain to go off and be like, yeah, fuck you. 10 years from now, you guys are going to fucking hate each other. It's just like, shut the fuck up, Julian. No, we're not. We're like, we actually don't have to think like you, dickhead. Um, and,
Oh,
I hope
Julian,
that all
I
my
think the
friends prove my
same
theory
exact
wrong
way
and
as
are
you.
not all,
I am you.
yeah.
You're me and
Well,
I am you.
I think, I don't know. I don't, I don't, I don't like that. But it also, it prevents me from inviting love into my life, and it
Of course. You've got
you
to do
know
shadow
it
work. You've
prevents
got
me
to
from a lot. It's because I'm
you got to call in people that can help you bring the subconscious into the conscious, because like you said earlier, you have no idea like what is plaguing you, what is in deeply ingrained in your brain that triggers that pessimistic fire when you meet someone lovely. You've got to do the shadow work to really go back. And that's what Lightworkers Lounge really is I'm bringing on guests and sharing my own experience of different types of healing modalities to pull those things out of my brain. You probably saw my most recent Instagram post where I shared how, yeah, Baby J and
yeah.
I have been together for over 2 years now. And for those 2 years, I have pushed him and his kids away hard. Like, we have a beautiful relationship, but it was always in my mind, like, that's your family and this is mine. We are not blended, because that, to me, from my childhood, means chaos, means instability, means heartbreak.
Yeah, I mean, I just hope that, from what I've gathered from all this, and especially like, the conversations earlier about kind of diving so deeply into my work at this point, and trying to find balance and work life balance, really, so that, if and when things kind of move in a direction that kind of start
Yep.
going fast and furious,
Yep.
uh I'm not ill equipped to like kind of go with that flow, um and like run out of oxygen up there,
Yep.
because I don't want to just be like, and I don't also, like, you've probably heard Jim Carrey's quote about just like, I hope that
Yes.
everybody someday gets really, really, really
Famous.
fucking famous, so that they can understand how unimportant it actually is,
Yep.
and how not how much of that not being the answer
Have you ever
is
defined, like
actually
wrote down
the
on
case.
paper so you can see what your definition of success as an actor is? Is it X amount of money every year? Is it a specific type of role?
No, I think it all comes down to my own like self-serving creativity, and like what I'm able to uh, contribute to the artistic world as an actor
Mm-hmm.
and as a writer and as a storyteller. Um, it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with money. Although, like those young thoughts about being like the richest boy in the world outside of Macaulay Culkin were, part of my narrative as a kid. It's like money has, I guess, because I always thought $99 was enough to have. It's just like I'll just have $99 for the rest of my life. But money and like the surface level success and like what TV shows or movies I'm on or what actors, those are all great. Like notoriety is cool, is great. And by no means am I saying like I'm going to stay away from that. I'm
Yeah.
actively trying to book work and get money and do these things. But I think where I kind of define my line for what success is for myself, it comes from a self-serving place of like, what am I going to be able to contribute to this world,
Yeah.
um, as an actor,
Yeah.
and as a storyteller, because that's mostly what's important to me. I know for certain I'm not going to feel fulfilled and like I'm contributing, booking, you know, 8 seasons on Law and Order SVU when I'm making, making however, I don't know how much money those guys make, probably more than they need to. And,
Mm-hmm.
that's not something that I really care to do. Doing somebody else's work, standing on somebody else's mark in somebody else's light, being directed by somebody else. I'm happy to do those jobs. I'm grateful every time I get to do those jobs, but those aren't what I'm
What
actually
to do?
working really hard to try and
What are you
ultimately
working on
do.
right now? Are
Um,
you recently
and I think
thinking
what
of
I'm
like a
ultimately
career
trying to do.
change or a shift? Not a change, but kind of a shift in what you're doing?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm just thinking about like what being an actor means to me, really,
Very good.
and trying to separate myself from Julian, the like douchebag, like branded actor that
Yeah.
exists out here. Because like, look, like people are always like, "You're not a douchebag." I'm like, I get it. But as an actor out here, I have had to embrace my aesthetic for so long.
Yeah.
Like I work out because I know that I have to be like a gym bro. I have to be like a douchebag or like a cop or a military guy. And that's great. It's fun and cool to like get work as an actor. That in and of itself is already like a huge accomplishment. Getting jobs as an actor is just not that fulfilling to me anymore. And maybe it has something to do with because I haven't really like booked this like the big thing yet.
Yeah.
But I don't want to just hold my breath for the big thing to come
Right. Have you recently
before I
auditioned
start
for
just like
any big roles, or have you thought about auditioning for something big?
uh yeah, I mean you're always thinking about auditioning for some big things, but it's whether or not you are offered the audition or not. You don't just like show up to an
Yeah.
audition. You get selected to come in and do it. But
But like,
yeah, I mean I just auditioned recently for a pretty big thing.
did you? Do you think you'll
Um
get it?
no. Like yes,
Julian,
but
let
no,
me.
I mean
This is where
no,
I
I
wish I
don't.
could show you
Because
your chart, because I was looking at current transits on your chart. Current transits are when you pull up where the planets are in the sky right now and you place it on someone's chart to get an idea of where their energy is naturally being focused towards. So, right now, you have a lot of planets on the top of your chart, which would indicate you're really focused on career. You're not focused on relationships. You're not really focused on self improvement. Not really focused on creating a home, getting married, having kids, because that's the bottom half of the chart. All of it is on the top. And not only that, but you have Jupiter conjunct your midheaven. I don't know if you remember, but Jupiter is a planet of abundance, good luck, big things. Midheaven is career. Whenever I see Jupiter transiting over the midheaven, someone is about to get a huge break. And not only that, but you have Neptune conjunct your natal, meaning where it was when you're born, Jupiter in your chart, which tells me Neptune, hopes, dreams, wishes are getting a lucky boost. This is huge. I couldn't wait to tell you this because it's going to happen when you least expect it, but it's going to happen in the next 6 months. Watch. I'll wait. You text me when it happens, and I'm just going to yawn and say, okay.
That's cool. I mean, I just hope that whatever that thing is that is a big break is something that, like, because of the transition I'm making right now artistically,
Mm-hmm.
I could book I could get a contract working on a TV show right now as like a series regular, say I booked like a pilot for as like one of the leads on his television show. Guess what? All of a sudden I'm like contracted for this show for the next X amount of years. And
Yep.
if that's a show that like I'm not like so
Me too.
inspired by creatively, then it becomes like I've worked on so many shows with actors who have been like, I'm like, man, we're sitting like in the green room, just like waiting for a shot to be set up. And I'm like, tell me about like this experience. Are you like, what's going on? Is this awesome? Or like, is it weird because you've been on the show for 7 years going on now? And like, how is that? They're like, dude, look, I'm so grateful to be a working actor. At the same time, I wish I could be like out auditioning for stuff and like doing other things, and I can't. And so this is my job, and I like it's basically my 9 to 5. And when I decided to start acting, did I think I was going to become like the tech guy in Blacklist? No, but here I am. And so
Yep.
like, I come to work every day and I show up and I do my job, and fuck man, I'm really grateful because I get paid
Yep.
really well to do this, and it's created a really cool life
Yep.
for me. um, and open some doors, but ultimately, like, it's
It's not
not
what I want to do.
what I thought I was going to be
Well,
doing or
let
what I
me
necessarily
plant
like
the seed
want.
that you have two magical wands, so to speak, just waving over your career line. This is huge in astrology. So, really,
Hmm.
right now, you can command your dreams. Any dreams you've had can be brought into the 3D reality at this time.
Wow.
This doesn't
What do I
happen
need to
very
do? Just
often.
wave
This
my
is very
hands?
rare. Yes, just wave your hands and manifest and meditate, and it'll just drop down from the sky. You no, go after, audition for
Well,
something.
yeah, I'm yeah, I mean, it all makes sense. And I guess it's just hard because I've spent 10 years out here in New York being rejected so often that like it's hard to hear and just be like, sure, like of course, like I know that eventually I will like e- evolve and grow and expand and do more and more because I that's how my trajectory has been, just very slow moving upwards. And so like, yeah, I know that like something's gonna happen that's more than what was, but I don't know. It's just like you can't hold your breath,
No,
and I'm not, and I believe you, I trust you, um,
it's just hard to
like I
see.
know that you are a truth teller. It's just yeah, it's just I can't see through like
Well, right
those
now, it sounds like you've
those
got everything
this
to gain and nothing to lose. Let's say you audition for a role, you're like, yeah, fucking right, there's no way I'll get this. Okay, so you don't. You get rejected again for the millionth time. You go right back to where you're sitting right now. It's not so bad. You're used to it. Oh, but what
yeah,
if you don't? What if
you're
you
right.
get it? Whoa,
I don't know. We'll see, and I will text you, and I'll
I'll
let you
be
know,
waiting.
and I'll bring
I'll
you
be
to the red
waiting.
carpet event.
You better.
I will. I'll give you 10%. Fuck.
To my astrologer. Yeah,
Yeah.
when you
No,
when you
it's
win like an Oscar or
yeah.
whatever, you'd be like, I just want to thank my astrologer who told me that
She
this was going to happen.
she predicted this shit. She predicted this shit. I mean, sometimes all you need is just like, that you just need to have somebody say it out loud to be like, okay, whatever. Like they told me that it was going to happen. Then that makes you start to believe in it a little
Yeah,
more. And I think I've been, you get told no so often that you just start to like accept that like it's always
it's
going to
not
be
going to
no.
happen.
And you're just like, getting yes is just a bonus. It's not something that you ever expect.
Do you believe that rejection is projection in the right direction?
I, I can't even like make sense of what that sentiment means.
It just means what's meant for you will never pass you by.
Like, yeah, I don't know if I believe that.
Why not?
In terms of being an actor,
Yeah.
I'm in such an oversaturated market of people who are doing the exact same thing as me. I've been in rooms with guys that are 10 times more handsome than me, with 10 times more chiseled jawlines, who have like a way bigger rap sheet of their resume. You know, I see people in audition rooms that I like recognize from shows that I like and watch, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing here? And they're just like, I'm doing the same thing you're doing here, man. And I'm like, well, this sucks for a bunch of
But they're
different
not
reasons,
you.
because
That's
now
like that lady was saying. Why did you go and betrain yourself to be an actor? You were born to be an actor. You kind of ruined that natural energy that you had to command a room. Who cares if they had a fucking chiseled jawline, white teeth, whatever? Who cares? They're not you, and that's your superpower.
yeah, well, I hope I can live up to your uh they're not expectations, it's just to your
Maybe
truths and
you
to your
didn't get the
thoughts and to your
roles you
words.
had wanted in the past that you really dreamt of getting and worked so hard to get. Maybe you got rejected from those because you weren't ready to handle what they came with. And angels, spirit guides, God, whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it,
I
was
think that's
protecting you.
yeah, I think that's true. I mean, I yeah, for sure. I just you know, it's just like, well, when is the thing gonna happen then? Like, where is it at? You know, you just
You
like,
don't have to see the
you
whole
know,
staircase
it's a
to take the first step. We need like sound
we'll just
effects.
leave it there. We'll just leave. Yeah, I'll try to add some nice ones at at the end of this podcast. That's so good. God, Stephanie Powers, I could talk to you for
I know.
49 years straight.
I could too. And I love
I feel like we got
astrology.
to figure out a way to. It's so cool that you love astrology, and like I see, it's so cool to see. Like, you've been doing this for how long?
Astrology for about a year. Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Wow.
That's it.
It's
I
so
just
cool.
love it.
I can feel like it's palpable how like inspired you are by it, and how excited you are to share this information, and to learn this information.
Yeah.
You seem to be just like such an absorber um, of knowledge and information and insight, and
Thank
that's
you.
inspiring in and of itself. And I guess, man, I would just like I would completely employ every single person listening to this to hit you up and like have one of these things, because you
Yeah.
know, I didn't know. I was just like, what a great idea to, like, hopefully she's available. But even if you weren't available to do a podcast, I still, like, I've thought about doing this so many times with you, and I'm just like, God,
Hmm.
I need to do this. And it's not because I like, because I'm being validated by like something that you've said, or I'm thinking like, oh my, I'm not gonna like leave here and be like, Stephanie told me that I'm gonna fucking have my break in 6 months. You know, I'm not gonna do that. But and I think that's probably like, you know, something that you have to like tell people, clients, to like, you know,
Yes.
be careful, like proceed with caution. You know, like,
Yeah.
just take it easy. Don't
Yeah. I
fucking
always tell
like
clients,
go
I
out here and
preface
like
it
throw a party
with,
for yourself.
hey, if you leave this reading and go rob a bank, everything I just said goes to shit. Okay. All right. Let's start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think you're just like reinforcing what people like might just need an extra boost to be reminded
Yeah.
of, which is
Yeah.
just that like they are already capable of the things that they have already been putting forth,
Yep.
and to keep fucking going.
That's right. And we're all
That's
born
really
knowing
all
who
that
we are,
matters.
how we operate, what we feel, what we love, what we don't. But along the way, we lose it. We lose ourselves in society and cultural conditioning. And it's just nice to work with an astrologer and come home to who you are. Because when we're rooted and confident and know who we are, we're unstoppable.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes I think the more I know who I am, the more destructive I can be too, at least in like the early phases of figuring it out, because I start to like open up all of these uh you know, vessels of my brain that I'm like, oh fuck, I didn't know
Yeah,
that. This, and it's scary. It's, you know,
it's
the
very
more you know
scary.
about yourself, the scarier that can be.
Yep.
But you know, figuring out how to manage that and apply it towards good and productive movement is the only thing that you can really try to do, and that's the work that you are um, trying to inspire people to do.
The
And
only way out is
appreciate you so
through.
much for doing that.
I appreciate the
That's
acknowledgement.
so right. Yeah, for sure. This has been so great, and I feel like I have already spent. I've taken up too much of your time from doing this. But again, I want everybody that listens, if you didn't listen to episode 25 of the podcast, go listen to that. Listen to Stephanie's podcast, Lightworkers Lounge. Learn it for yourself and book a session with her.
Oh, boo-boo, did you just make it to the end of the video? Yes, you did. Do you want to see more videos just like this one? Do you?
Well, then head over to patreon.com/live at the lodge, where you can support the How Goods of this podcast, as well as the entire Live at the Lodge family.
Yep, yeah, you're going to get exclusive merch, personalized shout-out videos. Me and Jules, we're going to show up at your house and baptize your nephew, huh? Check it out, patreon.com/live at the lodge.